Hey everyone, I'm here with Daily Mix and the Naked Beauty segment. Now if you checked out my last video, which if you haven't you can click here and see the video that I did with Chanel, which was based upon natural, kind of neutral makeup. And today I'm here with Ruth. Hello Ruth.
Hello.
Hello. And what we're going to be doing today is a contouring and highlighting video showing you the techniques to use to enhance your bone structure and create more dimension to the face. The way that I view the face anyway is I'm very old school. I like to look at it with regards to light and dark. And with contouring and highlighting, all we're doing is enhancing the face, sort of sculpting the bone structure a little bit more to emphasize all the planes of the face that we like and to make anything that we're not too fond of kind of go away from us. So that's what contouring and highlighting is. Okay, the first step is I'm going to apply a tiny bit of ember lease moisturizer to Ruth's skin just to prime it ever so slightly. And Ruth's got really good skin, it's very soft, so we only need a tiny amount. Just applying it with a wedge sponge, mainly because it just glides on a lot nicer and a lot of people aren't actually fond of people all over their face with their hands.
Okay.
Okay, next step is the highlighting stage of the makeup. Now, contouring and highlighting can be done with powders, which tends to be how it's done. I don't like it, I prefer cream. So I'm going to use a cream foundation that is a lot lighter than Ruth's skin tone. And with highlighting, anything you highlight will stand out. So I'm going to apply highlight to the center of the forehead, down the bridge of the nose, underneath the eyes, probably a tiny bit on the chin. And you'll see it's going to look really frightening, but the whole thing will blend in and look beautiful. At least that's the theory. I'm going to start with this palette because Ruth is so fair. Standard brush, and I'm applying the highlighted shade to the center of the forehead. I'm going to go right the way down the bridge of the nose, but don't go to the tip because that can look very scary. And then I'm going to take it, if you just tilt your chin up and look up, I'm going to take it underneath the eye. You can see I'm applying it heavily, so it can look frightening. Because all these areas will very, very subtly, even though they look really scary now, will stand out once it's all blended in. Trust me?
This would be a really bad time for the postman to start delivering parcels, wouldn't it?
You're not wrong. You'll be answering.
Or does it get worse than this?
It gets a lot worse than this. I think the best thing about this technique, because I hate using powder for contouring, is that if you're not used to it, it can look really frightening. Because all you're going to have in a minute is stripes all over your face. So it's going to be amazing. Time to go to the shops. I'm actually going to highlight the Cupid's bow as well, just because I can. And that is the areas of the face that will stand out just ever so slightly more. Now, the next step is contouring. So same palette, we're going to take a deeper shade now and contour the planes of the face. So I'm taking this deeper colour to begin with, and then we'll see
Wow.
how scary it is. Wait till you see yourself in a minute. I'm going to if you just turn your head slightly, I'm just going to start from the temple and dot this across there and across here. So it goes up like that. I'm then going to take it and go down the sides of the nose. And always make sure that it kind of starts from the eyebrow. How scary is that? It's slightly tribal. Contour the cheekbone area, right here. There we go. And I'm also going to contour the jawline ever so slightly. I'm not even going to say it. There you go. Same thing on the other side. Just the areas here. And what this will also do is it will warm Ruth's face up as well, because I'm going to blend this with the exact same product but in Ruth's foundation shade. Do you want to have a look?
It's beautiful, Wayne.
How cool is that?
It's beautiful.
Okay, now I'm going to take Ruth's foundation shade, which is approximately this colour here in the centre. And I'm going to take a stippling brush, which looks like this. And all I'm going to do is hope that I can buff this foundation into the face over the contouring and highlighting, and it will blend into, they'll blend into each other. So the lines aren't as prominent as they were. So I'm going to start here on the side of the face, and it's just a kind of backward, forward, circular motion. And you're just blending it over the eyelid, over the highlighted areas, And what happens is the lines that we drew become less and less apparent. The foundation that we use is her skin tone, so it's blending in, but the areas will stand out slightly more, and it just gives more dimension to the face, because the face isn't flat, and oftentimes when we're putting foundation on, it's just one colour and we paint it flat. And you know, the face is 3D, it's got lots of different planes. Even though as well, it looks like I'm using loads of foundation, because it's a wax-based one, which I always go on about. They don't really sit on the skin really heavily. Always go down slightly onto the neck as well, because I keep saying it, but we've all seen those women whose faces are one colour and their bodies are another. You don't want to be that woman, ever. You can see now that we started off with all those lines on the face. There's no more real lines. Any areas that are a little bit more stubborn, you just go over them with your finger, blend them in. But you can see that it adds a tiny amount of structure to the face, because with contouring and highlighting, I think there's this theory that it should be quite extreme, but if you go out in daylight with it, all you're going to see is it looks like dirt on the face. Nobody wants that. So make sure that it's blended as best you can, because you can always go in again and contour or highlight any areas that might need a little bit more coverage. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to powder the face, and I'm going to be using a powder and a puff for this, because I don't want to use a sponge, I don't want to use a brush even, because oftentimes you've just done your face, all your foundation's on, and then you use a powder brush and you start knocking it across the face, and suddenly your foundation gets knocked off with it, and you end up with patches of red again, or other areas of the skin that you want covered, and it's annoying. So we're just going to use a puff and set it very lightly with powder, because not everybody likes a matte finish. So we're going to be kind of kind with it.
Okay.
So I'm going to use a stack of powder here. They're just easy stackers for someone like me. They contain different colour powders, and I'm going to use powder puff, and I'm just going to knock it into the kind of powder and then knock off all the excess on the back of my hand. And then I'm going to really lightly kind of press and roll like you would be giving a fingerprint. And you just want to, you don't want to go ooh like that, because then you're just taking it all off. But you just want to make sure that there is enough on to take away any, too much shine. Fan brush, because a lot of times when you use a puff, sometimes you can put way too much powder on your face. All you need to do, and you can do this with a powder brush, is just knock off any excess product just with a fan brush or a powder brush. Does that tickle?
Does a little way.
Thank you. Just buff it off, and then we can use this brush to further highlight any areas of the face as well. Okay? Okay, so to further enhance just some of the bone structure, just to make it blend in a little bit better, I'm going to use bronzer and a powder brush, very loose powder brush. And I'm just sweeping it in and then knocking it all off, because it's easier to build it up than it is to take it off again. And again, I'm following the areas that I did originally, but just emphasising them now a little bit more with that powder. And this powder has a tiny bit of sheen in it, so that should make Ruth happy. Just going over it, and even though we're using a light shade of bronzer, you still got to go down that neck slightly, because we need it to at least match a little bit, don't we? And now I'm going to use a tiny bit of highlighter, but only a tiny bit. Fan brush, ridiculously shimmery highlighter. All you want to do is make sure it hits the high planes of the face, and depending on your age and your skin, never ever ever highlight anything that is bad. So if you have any form of wrinkling around the eyes, don't put anything shimmery around that area, because you're only going to say, look at this. So because you don't have any wrinkles, hateful, I'm just going to apply it really lightly on the cheekbone area, which is right here. Right here on the centre of the forehead, tiny bit, just going down the bridge of the nose ever so slightly, and with my finger and whatever is left on the product, I'm just going to highlight really slightly the Cupid's bow, because just by highlighting this area here, you give the illusion of a fuller lip immediately. All I'm going to do now is curl Ruth's lashes. I'm going to put a tiny bit of lip balm on the lips and then line the lips, and it will complete the contouring and highlighting look, because I don't want to do now a full face of makeup, because this video really is just to show you how to contour and highlight. You can see now this is the completed face. If you think back to the beginning, there were nothing but lines all over that face. White lines, dark lines, much darker, 4 or 5 shades darker than Ruth's complexion. There are no lines anymore, but Ruth looks like she has contour, and more importantly, she has dimension to the face, and that really is all contouring and highlighting is. There should never be a really sharp jaw, or a really sharp cheek, or a ridiculously sharp nose. The whole thing should be blended in. It should still look like skin, which is why I tend to use wax foundations, because they just sit on the skin beautifully and they can be sheared out into next to nothing. And that completes the contouring and highlighting look. And don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe to the Daily Mix channel.